I do also have additional banks like RHB Bank and also CIMB Bank, whereby RHB Bank is where I get the loan, and CIMB Bank is whereby it's used to actually cater the OPEX and also receive revenue. So in this context, I actually need to actually update in my system. So if I go to my current asset, I have cash and bank, I have the Maybank, and I have to actually record additional entries for CIMB and also RHB. So I'm going to write here cash and bank, and I'm writing here RHB, debit, cash and bank again, and I have another bank which is CIMB. And this is the data. So once you have actually key in a new details, what you need to do is you need to save the file. Control S, meaning you just press Control S, it will automatically save the file. Because whenever there's new updates, you save the file. And then what I'll do is I'll go to my folder, and I'm going to go to this book one over here. Okay, and then the next step is right click and refresh. So once I press refresh, I press OK, you will notice eventually you will have the two new data, which is you will have the RHB bank and also the CIMB bank. So now since we have these details, the next thing is we need to actually record the journal entries, because in accounting, everything starts from the journal entry. So I'll go to this new sheet here. This is where I record the journal entry. So I have the date, I have the invoice, okay, or any reference. You can put here source reference or source document, reference to. We have here the debit. We also have here the credit. And then we have the RM. So now this is where we key in the details. So you can actually put this as the title. So for example, on 30th July 2024, you have a details on 2024 year. So you want to actually record whatever transaction happened on this particular date. So what I'm going to do is, instead of me keying in, I can actually go to data, and then I click on data validation drop down list. I click it over here. I choose list, and then I go to accounting items. Okay, I click the source, I go to accounting items, and I select all these items over here. So this is the details. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press enter. There you go. And then I'm going to press Ctrl R. So if just say initially you have some initial investment from Maybank. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put here Maybank, and I'm going to put here capital. Okay. And then what is the amount? Maybe I'll just put a random amount, maybe 50,000. So this is the details. And then you can actually bring this down. You can drag all this so that we have all the drop down list. And then maybe another details that you have, maybe for the next day, you have received a loan from RHB Bank. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select here RHB, and your credit side will be a loan. And let me put here 20,000. Okay. And then after that, the next day, maybe you want to buy furniture. So in this case, I want to buy furniture, which is the table. And over here, I'm going to use the Maybank's money. Okay. Or you want to use RHB, so up to you. So I'm going to use RHB. And then the same thing. This one, I want to buy chair, and I'm using the RHB money. Okay. And then I also have purchases. So what I'm going to do is purchases of iPhone 16, purchases of iPhone 16s. Okay, let me just auto fit this. So now this is the details. So if this is the purchase, my credit side will be, I haven't paid to the creditor. So ABC Berhad. And here also I use ABC Berhad. Okay, so now this is the details. Okay, so table, maybe I'll just put a random amount, maybe 10,000. And here 5,000. And then you also have purchases. So the purchases, since we do have credit, so maybe I put here 2,000. Here also 2,000. Okay, so this is done. So next thing is sales. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use CIMB Bank as the sales. And this is where I record the 16S. This one also will record the 16. So this one also use your CIMB Bank. So this one I'll put here 5,000. This one also I'll put here 5,000. So you can actually update the data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to update the dates. So this is the details. So this is where you can actually capture the transaction. And then what I'm going to do next is I actually want to actually bring this into the trial balance, because I want to know how much profit or how much balance sheet I have. So I'm going to press Ctrl A so that it hides the entire table. And then I go to data, and then I click from table/range. And a small box will appear. I'm going to press OK. So once I press OK, you will notice that it will go to Power Query Editor. Okay, so this Power Query Editor, what I want to do is I actually want to separate the debit and credit. So I'm going to select this, right click, and then what I'll do next is I want to choose unpivot columns. So now you'll have all the debit. This is all the transactions. Okay, so this is the details, this is the RM, and so on. And then what I want to do next is I want to actually capture the debit items first. Okay, so I'm going to put here debit side. Okay, and then I go to home and I click here merge query. Okay, once I click this, a box will appear. So I want to merge with this value over here. And then I'm going to click here, accounting items, and I want to merge with the subgrouping. So we have these details, and then I press OK. So now we have this detail over here. So what I'm going to do is I want to actually exclude the subgrouping, and I'm going to press OK. So now this is the details. So we have Maybank, table, chairs, and so on. So this is the details, whatever happens. And let me just sort the date accordingly. So yeah, we have these details over here. And then what's the next step? Okay, the next step is what I want to capture is I want to capture the debit items. So this is the journal entry. So I'm going to choose here and I want to choose it as a debit item. So I unselect this and I'm going to press OK. So right now we have all the debit items like cash and bank, furniture, and also. So this is the debit items, and whatever appear on the debit side will be positive. Whatever appear on the credit side will be negative. So I'm going to go to the add column. Okay, so I'm going to choose conditional column. So click the conditional column and then whatever attribute over here. So I'm going to select this. If just say the attribute has the word debit, then it should be 1. Okay, it should be positive 1. If just say it's on the credit side, then I should put it as a negative 1. And then I press OK. And now you have these details. So whatever it's debit side will be positive, whatever on credit side will be negative. And then I'm going to select this column. I press the control button and I select this RM column. Go to standard and I'll choose what? I'll choose to multiply so that I can capture these figures over here. And then what I'm going to do next? Okay, so here, this is the details whereby we have this Maybank, RHB, table, and so on. So my next thing is I want to do a grouping. So what I'll do is I'll go to home and I'll choose group by. So group by, I want to choose the advanced. So basically we want to grouping based on the, okay, so based on the value and then based on the accounting items. Okay, so we have many groups because basically accounting items and also another group which is dedicated on the name. Okay, so we have these things and basically I actually want to count the sum of the multiplication. And this one I put here debit. And then I'm going to press OK. So just like that, we have details. So we get to know that RHB now we have a balance of 5,000, tables, chairs, and then we also have CIMB. So this is what they call it as debit side. I'm going to do the same thing, right click over here and I'm going to press duplicate. So duplicate and this thing, what I'm going to do is I want to put here as credit side. Okay, and what I'm going to do is some difference. So this one filtered row. So instead of filtering out the debit, I want to filter for credit only. Okay, so this is how it works. And the conditional column is a bit different. So I'm going to put here -1 and here is +1. Okay, and group rows. So there you go. So here you have capital, loan, your credit, and so on. And this one over here, I'll rename as credit. Okay, there you go. So we have debit side, we have credit side. The next thing is we want to do a append. So I'm going to click it over here, append queries as new. So once you press append queries as new, so yeah, regardless, maybe you want to start with debit side and then you end with credit side and you press OK. So once you press OK, so this is the data. So maybe you want to change this. So this one you can put here the subgroup items. This one over here is accounting items. And this one is group items. So we have the details. If you don't want the word null, what you can do is you can select these two columns. You go to transform and then you click as replace value. So you don't want the null, you put here null, you put here 0, and then you press OK. So now we have these details over here. So now this is, the name is trial balance. Okay, so this is the trial balance. And maybe I want to add something new because I also want to actually include, for example, maybe the income statement and so on. So what I'm going to do is, the next thing is, I'll just go to home. Okay, and or you want to go to add column also can. So I'm going to click here, add column, and I'm going to select one of this column over here, conditional column. Okay, so over here, what I want to do, if it has the word revenue, it has the word COGS, then it should be expenses. So I'm going to put here, so select this, accounting items, this one also accounting items. So if it has the word revenue, then it should be income statement. The same thing, if it has COGS, then it is income statement. Otherwise, it is a balance sheet item. And then you press OK. So now we do have these items over here. You can actually change this to text. And then you can go to home and close and load to. So once you press close and load to, eventually what happen is a box will appear. I'm going to press only create connection and press OK. So now this is where you do the data transaction, data entry, and you can actually go to a new sheet, right click, and you can actually press load to. Once you press load to, what happen is you can actually load as a table and then you press OK. So now this is your data entry. And you can actually create a last column over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put here total. So here, so this total over here, I want to calculate the sum and same thing over here. So it is balanced. The name of trial balance is it should be balanced. The debit should be equivalent to your credit. But now what if just say we do have a new data, like for example, expenses and so on. So for example, I go to sheet 1 over here. Okay, so I'm going to continue. I'm going to go to this data validation. I choose list. Okay, and then I choose the source based on the accounting items. I'll just drag until down and I press OK. So now what happens is, if just say I have one here is called salaries. So this is the salaries, and over here I use CIMB Bank, and maybe I pay the salaries using just say 6,000. Okay, so since you have updated a new data, what you can do is you can actually go to sheet 2 and then you press here, right click and then refresh. Once you press refresh, you will notice right now you will have a new data whereby salary is of course over here is 6,000, and you will notice that for your CIMB there is a reduction. However, over here the word is balance sheet. What we can do is we can make some changes. So right click and edit. So over here it will go back to the Power Query editor. So add additional column, I'm going to click it over here if it contains the word expenses. So I'm going to click it here, accounting items, equals, and I'm going to put here expenses. So you have to make sure the spelling is correct and the case is correct, because any small spelling error or small case, it will definitely pop out as an error. So I'm going to change here to income statement. And I'm going to press OK. And I'm going to press close and load. So if just say I go over here, so of course the changes will be made and close and load. So eventually you will notice for salaries, there'll be some changes. So down this is actually how you can actually prepare an accounting system in your Excel.